Craig, we're talking about the garden shaft. At the water test, what captivated you hit gold. This concludes the biggest treasure hunt in history. The Laganina brothers accomplished the unthinkable, according to the History Channel. They discovered the secret of Oak Island. It's not at all what we had anticipated. Forget about a simple coin chest. This enormous, multi-story vault is filled with artifacts from ancient ages and distant places. The artifact and jaw-dropper are so sophisticated that they defy their time. What is it? A blade and unbelievable Roman blade. Discovered in the 1940s, close to Oak Island and Mayan Bay, not only does this solve a mystery, it also sparks a more intriguing one regarding who actually set foot on America. After 2 centuries of waiting, it's true. It's confirmed by the History Channel. There are no wood chips or rusty spikes here. They struck the vault with force. However, Marie Antoinette's missing gems or this hauled wharf's pirate gold. It contains an item that is so out of place that it has the potential to completely upend North American history. A finding of shadowy societies that have purportedly been buried for a long time. Check out the garden area. Crew, look at those rising bubbles, man. Ho, they are swirling vigorously. When the Laganina brothers used their pure movie magic to detect outrageous gold and silver spikes in the water deep within the garden shaft, you won't believe what they pulled out of that pit. The last man-made wall was punctured by the team's enormous drill. Yes, pockets of air in the garden area. That boulder is off to the right. Pressure is being pumped from the drill rig to the garden shaft via the tunnel. Not stone or wood, but a dense, strange mixture that resembles concrete and is laced with animal bones and some unidentified metal. That is meant to survive for hundreds and drills. The entire crew was left in a sealed room, about 15 by 15 feet, made of enormous hand-hewn granite slabs. After the remote camera was dropped down, this area, which they dubbed the sanctuary, included a number of boxes, one of which was iron-locked and contained gold coins. Roman Empire stories, not only Spanish or French ones, are replete with emperors from a millennium before Columbus. We have observed what appear to be cavities or side chambers below. We are retrieving information for you. What caused Roman coins to sink 160 feet in North American soil? That had the power to change history on its own. However, that is only the beginning. Early peeks at one showed a star map atop a chest that held scrolls tightly sealed in lead tubes. Constellations from a southern hemisphere perspective, not of our heavens, are depicted with uncanny accuracy and even stranger notes in a script. Linguist Peg combines Phoenician humor with ancient Hebrew. The experts who laughed at the 90-foot stone are now most likely choking on their own comments. However, it was a ceremonial blade, not a cross on a stone stand, that was the showstopper, an object that stopped everyone in their tracks. What is a blade? An unbelievable Roman sword was discovered in the 1940s by Oak Island, close to Mayan Bay. Its raw gem-studded, gold-wrapped grip. The edge was made of a dark, dull metal. Meteor-burned iron was later confirmed via lab tests. The distinctive twin-bird cross of the Knights Templar was carved into the handle of the same celestial metal that ancient peoples like the Egyptians treasured. The bombshell is here. This does not merely imply that America was attacked by Templars. It shouts that they carried their holy relics across the sea. It's no longer fancy. The important thing is that its weight appears well-balanced and bronze. It was created between the 2nd and 3rd centuries AD. Emperor Commodus presented elite gladiators with a ceremonial gladius. The researchers also discovered human remains that had been put with care. Like eternal guards, the skeletons stood vigil beside the stand. It wasn't a pile of loot. It was a crypt, a place of worship, and a portent of things to come. This discovery tells an epic story and pays tribute to the 6 lives lost during the centuries of quest. At its height, the ancient myth that a 7th must fall before the island reveals its secret seems eerily prescient. Thank God, though, there were no more losses in the final revelation. Ultimately, the mystery of Oak Island has been resolved. However, a larger one has only just begun. We are aware of its existence. However, how did they manage? It takes 2 centuries of passion to understand the significance of this discovery. You must sense the 2 centuries of unrelenting perseverance that preceded it. For many, this wasn't a side gig. It destroyed heartbreak and consumed their lives. Furthermore, Death Oak Island Saga depicts the unadulterated human spirit in the face of overwhelming adversity. When little Daniel McInnes noticed an odd spherical dip in the earth in 1795, it all began. You may not understand, but that spark ignited a mystery that millions of people were fascinated by. He dug smashing oak logs with friends at 10, 20, and 30 feet. They were aware that nature wasn't responsible. It was engineered by someone. That hole turned into the notorious money pit. The island drew tycoons and dreamers for 2 centuries. The in-slow group Churro Company Oak Island Alliance was founded by dozens of groups. The sickest defense flood tunnels on the island beat them as they arrived, excavated, and destroyed them. Every time triumph appeared imminent, seawater rushed in and flooded the pit within minutes. A ridiculously intricate man-made trap to protect whatever was underneath. In the 1960s, treasure seeker Robert Dunfield went all out with heavy equipment, digging a crater more than 100 feet deep and 130 feet wide. The scale of the battle is astounding, with enormous steam pumps, big cranes, intricate structures to hold back the waves. He rearranged portions of the island, but there was no chest-only additional backfill pits and tunnel hints. A clever person's maze. We are aware that a network of tunnels runs beneath, tied to the garden shaft, perhaps. That's enormous. We may dig our way to the top. Next, the human price. 6 people died during the investigation of a father-son tragedy in 1965 and a pump-fume death in 1861, as a reminder of the actual dangers. This fueled the sinister story that 7 must perish for the wealth to cast a looming shadow over the present. There were theories that the items below were lost French crown jewels, a pirate horde, and wild Captain Kidd's. Scripts by Francis Bacon demonstrating that he penned Shakespeare's plays. I've long thought that Oak Island may contain lost wisdom in addition to treasure. Shakespeare's plays, who knows the most outrageous concept in the money hole, is sensible bookbinding material. Each clue, such as the mysterious 90-foot stone or the lead Frost discovered earlier, only served to deepen the myth. Each generation of seekers added their own story, passing the obsession torch to the Legionnaires. But traditional digging and hoping never cut it. Knights Temple treasure might be the Holy Grail or Ark of the Covenant. They required a fresh strategy. For eons, science cracks the code. The chase was blind faith and brute power. The script was reversed by the Legionnaires. This game is completely new. They understood that a 200-year puzzle cannot be solved with shovels, and that genius cannot be defeated by grit alone. Their method transformed the island into a massive outdoor laboratory using brilliant mystery and concrete data. Rather of using random digs, here's the kicker. Using sophisticated equipment, seismic scans, ground-penetrating radar, and a 3-dimensional 3D representation of the depths, they scanned the entire area. These revealed a shaky network of tunnels and large artificial gaps. Not a hunch, but one anomaly in the garden shaft zone appeared to be a shut vault. Everything changed after a data-driven mark and a water test conducted by Dr. Ian Spooner. Sampling holes are used to assess the island's chemical composition. His group discovered that the water in a stunning muddy hole had hundreds of times more gold and silver than usual. Craig, what is it about the garden shaft that has you captivated? The water test was successful. Gold Spooner stated on video that the findings clearly showed a huge metal source oozing beneath the treasure, which was actually whispering its location. The other game changer was core drilling, which allowed them to focus with pinpoint accuracy. They pulled more than 150 feet of samples using massive drills rather than destroying the ground. They persisted because of the early hints this provided: old wood fragments, non-native coconut fiber parchment, and human bone remnants are found season after season. How does that look? According to the geologists, each sample may contain lignum vitae ultra dense, which appears to be wood but is actually quite dense at a depth of 160 to 165 feet. Solid heavy knot rock. A chapter on history carbon dating hit in the 1600s and 1700s, long before the money pits were discovered. And there is concrete evidence that a significant covert project was carried out centuries ago. Why concentrate on the garden shaft when the main pit, according to their data-backed theory, was the genuine score, was seated in a separate fortified vault? GPR water test, and the decoy was used to bleed hunters dry. At last, clever drilling beat the island's designers. I'm out of luck. The map was created by science and technology to help people avoid obstacles and discover wonders. What does it signify for our common history, though, that they found a mystery blade in a vault filled with priceless old manuscripts? However, the true treasure isn't found in the sanctuary's artifacts. Might alter our understanding of history, not just a footnote. The main shock is the beginning of entire CH. Main shock is the beginning of entire CH. Chapters that are reworked. The Templar Knot of the Knights. Once a fantastical hypothesis suitable for films, Iron Blade, a powerful order that disintegrated in the early 1300s, had basic, hard-proof Templars. According to legend, they took precious artifacts and enormous money with them. They traveled across the Atlantic to get to Oak Island a century before Columbus. This suggests that pre-Columbian expeditions were organized, well-funded undertakings by Europe's elite, using Roman coins rather than merely Viking whims. An actual curveball. Did ancient people arrive in the New World? Or was it more likely Templar riches amassed over centuries from the Middle East and Europe? In any case, it demonstrates ancient artifacts in North America that predate historians' discoveries of jet engines and pyramids. Completely incorrect compared to the scrolls. They are a forgotten information trove protecting the science banned in medieval Europe. If they contain texts, old dialects, star maps, and secret paths, perhaps the name of the Templars' famous banking web sanctuary indicates that it safeguarded more than just financial secrets. This upends American, European, and East histories. We have observed cavities or side chambers beneath collecting data, like contemporary spies rather than folklore. It connects a secretive Christian organization to Canada's coastlines, implying navigation and stealth. However, several archaeologists warn that skeptics are circling. Large claims require unquestionable evidence until artifacts are independently examined. Don't jump to Templar or Roman assumptions, because these islands have been excavated for 2 centuries. Could previous hunters have dropped or planted items? A reasonable query. TV's quest for a wild moment may surpass science and other ideas that aren't Templars, such as French or slicker pirates. Although less spectacular, the British colonial treasure has a vast history, but things get messy. Governments, hunters, and historians all want a piece, but Canada lags behind. If there are Templar heirs, court battles are looming rather than pit excavations. History books are changing right now, but if the priests concealed this, their covert order is still in place and they are keeping an eye on it. Please follow and like for we're discussing the garden shaft. Craig, what captured your attention during the water test was gold. The largest treasure search in history comes to an end now. The History Channel claims that the Laganina brothers achieved the unimaginable. They learned Oak Island's secret, and it's completely different from what we expected. Don't worry about a basic coin chest. There are relics from far-off places and ancient times in this massive, multi-story vault. The jaw-dropper and artifact are so advanced that they are out of date. What is it? In the 1940s, a blade, an incredible Roman blade, was found near Mayan Bay and Oak Island. This solves a mystery, but it also raises a more interesting one about who, after 2 centuries of waiting, actually stepped foot in America. It's accurate. The History Channel has confirmed it. This place is free of rusty spikes and wood chips. They slammed into the vault. But this haul dwarfs pirate gold or Marie Antoinette's missing diamonds. It includes something that could totally upend the history of North America, because it is so out of place. A discovery of hidden societies that have long been thought to be extinct. Crew, check out the garden area. Man, take a look at those rising bubbles. Ho, they're whirling wildly. You won't believe what the Laganina brothers discovered when they utilized their unadulterated film magic to find astonishing spikes of gold and silver in the water deep within the garden shaft. The team's massive drill pierced the final man-made wall. Yes, there are air pockets in the garden. Off to the right is that boulder. The tunnel is used to pump pressure from the drill rig to the garden shaft. It's not stone or wood, but a thick, weird concoction that looks like concrete, mixed with animal bones and some unknown metal that's supposed to last for hundreds of drills. The remote camera was dropped down, and the entire crew was left in a sealed space, roughly 15 by 15 feet, composed of massive slabs of granite that had been hand-hewed. There were several boxes in this space, which they called the sanctuary, one of which was iron-locked and held gold coins. Stories about the Roman Empire, not only Spanish or French ones, are full of emperors who lived 1,000 years before Columbus. Below, we have noticed what seem to be side chambers or voids. For you, we are retrieving information. Why did Roman coins that alone had the ability to alter history sink 160 feet in North American soil? But that's just the beginning. At 1, early peeks revealed a chest containing carefully sealed scrolls and lead tubes, with a star map on top. In A script, constellations from the southern hemisphere rather than our heavens are shown with remarkable precision and even more bizarre notes. Linguist Peg blends Old Hebrew with Phoenician humor. Most likely, the experts who chuckled at the 90-foot stone are now choking on their own words. However, The showstopper, an item that halted everyone in their tracks, was a ceremonial blade rather than a cross on a stone stand. What is a blade? In the 1940s, Oak Island, near Mayan Bay, found an incredible Roman sword. Its gold-wrapped, bare gem-studded grasp. The metal used for the edge was dull and black. Lab testing later confirmed meteor-burnt iron, the same heavenly metal that ancient peoples like the Egyptians prized. Had the Knights Templar's recognizable twin-bird cross cut into its handle? Here comes the bombshell. This goes beyond simply suggesting that Templars assaulted America. It yells that they crossed the ocean with their sacred artifacts. It's not fancy anymore. What matters is that its weight seems heavy and evenly distributed. Between the 2nd and 3rd centuries AD, it was produced. A ceremonial gladius was given to distinguished gladiators by Emperor Commiades. Additionally, the researchers found carefully placed human remains. Beside the stand, the skeletons stood watch like eternal guards. It wasn't a heap of riches. It served as a place of prayer, a crypt, and a foreshadowing of future events. This finding honors the 6 lives lost over the course of 2 centuries of searching, and recounts an epic tale. The old legend that a 7th must perish before the island's secrets are revealed seems uncannily accurate at its height. Thankfully, however, the final revelation did not reveal any more losses. In the end, Oak Island's mystery has been answered, but a bigger one is only getting started. We are conscious of its presence, but how did they handle it? To fully comprehend the significance of this discovery, 2 centuries of passion are required. You have to feel the 2 centuries of relentless tenacity that went before it. This wasn't a side gig for many. It devoured their lives and ruined heartbreak. In addition, Death Oak Island Saga portrays the pure human spirit in the face of unfathomable hardship. It all started in 1795 when young Daniel McInnes spotted a strange circular depression in the ground. Millions of people were captivated by the mystery that was sparked by that spark, even though you might not comprehend it. With companions, he excavated 10, 20, and 30 feet of splintered oak wood. They knew that nature wasn't to blame. Someone had engineered it. That hole became known as the Money Pit. For 2 centuries, the island attracted visionaries and tycoons. Dozens of organizations came together to form the Insular Group Truro Company Oak Island Alliance. When they arrived, they were beaten, dug up, and destroyed by the island's sickest defense flood tunnels. Seawater surged in and filled the pit in minutes whenever victory seemed inevitable. An absurdly complex man-made trap to keep whatever was underneath safe. Using heavy machinery, treasure hunter Robert Dunfield dug a crater that was more than 130 feet wide and 100 feet deep in the 1960s, with massive steam pumps, massive cranes, and elaborate structures to contain the waves. The battle scope is staggering. He changed parts of the island, but there was no chest, just more tunnel indications and backfilled pits. A maze for a cunning individual. We know there is a system of tunnels underneath, maybe tied to the garden shaft. That's huge. We might work hard to get to the top. The human cost follows. Investigations into a pump fume death in 1861 and a father-son tragedy in 1965 resulted in 6 fatalities. This fostered the dark tale that 7 people must die for the wealth to tower large over the present, serving as a reminder of the real perils. The objects below were thought to be wild captain children, a pirate horde, or missing French crown jewels. Francis Bacon's scripts proving he penned Shakespeare's plays. I have always believed that Oak Island holds not only wealth, but also lost wisdom. The plays of Shakespeare, what if the most ridiculous idea in the money hole turns out to be practical bookbinding material? Every hint, like the lead Frost found earlier, or the enigmatic 90-foot stone, only helped to strengthen the tale. Traditional digging and hoping never cut it, but each generation of seekers added their own story, passing the fixation torch to the Legionnaires. Knights Temple treasure could be the Ark of the Covenant or the Holy Grail. They needed a new approach. Science solves the puzzle for eons. It was a hunt of physical might and blind confidence. The Legionnaires reversed the script. This is a brand new game. They realized that grit alone cannot fight intellect, and shovels cannot solve a 200-year conundrum. Their approach used actual statistics and stunning mystery to turn the island into a vast outdoor laboratory. Here's kicker: instead of utilizing arbitrary digging. Entire area using advanced equipment, ground-penetrating radar, seismic scans, and a 3-dimensional 3D picture of the depths. These exposed a rickety system of tunnels and wide man-made openings. One abnormality in the garden shaft zone seemed to be a closed vault, However, this was not a hunch. Following a water test by Dr. Ian Spooner and a data-driven mark, everything changed. The chemical makeup of the island is evaluated via sampling holes. His team found hundreds of times more gold and silver than normal in the water of a beautiful money hole. Why are you so fascinated by the garden shaft, Craig? The water test went well. The results clearly showed a huge metal source oozing beneath the treasure, which was actually whispering its location, Gold Spooner said on video. Core drilling was the other game changer, enabling them to focus precisely. Instead of damaging the ground, they used enormous drills to remove more than 150 feet of samples. This gave them early clues that kept them going. Season after season, traces of human bones, old with fragments, and parchment made of non-native coconut fiber are discovered. What do you think of that? The geologist claims that each sample might include lignum vitae ultra dense, which is solid heavy knot rock that looks like wood but is actually rather dense. At a depth of 160 to 165 feet, a historical chapter long before the money pits were found. In the 1600s and 1700s, carbon dating gained popularity, and there is hard proof that a large-scale, clandestine enterprise was completed centuries ago. Why focus on the garden shaft since their data-backed theory indicated that the main pit was the decoy was used to bleed hunters dry, while the real score was sat in a separate guarded vault GPR water test. Finally, the island's designers were defeated by ingenious drilling. I am at a loss. Science and technology developed the map to assist visitors find wonders and avoid problems. But what does the discovery of a mysterious blade in a vault containing valuable ancient documents mean for our shared history? But the objects in the sanctuary don't hold the real wealth. Might change how we perceive history, not merely a footnote. The start of entire chapters that have been rewritten is the primary shock. The Knights Templar knot, Iron Blade, a strong order that broke up in the early 1300s, had simple, hard-proof Templars and was once a sci-fi fantasy fit for a movie. Legend has it that they brought with them a great deal of money and valuable treasures. 100 years before Columbus, they crossed the Atlantic to reach Oak Island. This implies that rather than being the product of Viking whims, pre-Columbian missions were planned, lavishly financed endeavors by Europe's elite utilizing Roman currency. A real curveball. Was it Templar wealth accumulated over ages from the Middle East and Europe, or did ancient people come to the New World? In any event, it shows that North America has ancient artifacts that precede the discovery of jet engines in pyramids by historians, utterly wrong in contrast to the scrolls. If they include literature, ancient dialects, star maps, and hidden routes, they are a lost treasure trove of information safeguarding the scientific community. In medieval Europe, the Templars' well-known banking web refuge may have protected more than simply financial secrets. As suggested by its name, American, European, and East histories are upended by this. We have seen side chambers or cavities beneath data collection. It links a covert Christian organization to Canada's shores, suggesting navigation and stealth, more like modern spies than mythology. Some archaeologists caution that there are skeptics out there. Nevertheless, unquestionable proof is necessary for large claims until artifacts are independently analyzed. These islands have been dug for 2 centuries, so don't assume they are Templar or Roman. Were objects abandoned or planted by earlier hunters? A sensible questions science and other non-Templar concepts, like French or slicker pirates, may be subordinated to TV's desire for a wow moment. The British colonial treasure has a long history, albeit one that is less spectacular. But things become complicated. While historians, hunters, and governments all want a piece, Canada falls behind. Instead of pit excavations, court fights are imminent if there are Templar heirs. Even though history books are changing at the moment, if the priests kept this a secret, their secret order remains in place and they are monitoring it. Kindly like and follow for.